Singer Charley Pride was country music's first black superstar. The award-winning performer died today at the age of 86 due to COVID-19 complications.
Have you ever heard the tumultuous life of Charley Pride, the gifted country music star? His tough childhood, troubled marriage, secret child, and untimely death have all been heavily documented by the media. But there's one story that's rarely told. The story of the racism that shadowed his career despite his fame. And that's exactly why this video is something you can't afford to miss. Prepare yourself for this painful yet powerful tale about Charley Pride. Let's begin. When we talk about the most agonizing chapter of Charley Pride's life, we can't ignore the racism he faced in the early years of his career. Behind the scenes, there's a tragic yet strategic part of his story that deserves to be told. In 1966, Charley Pride made his bold debut into the country music world with his single, "The Snakes Crawl at Night." But here's where the story takes a dark turn. In an era defined by deep racial divisions, his record label made a calculated move. They decided to send the song to radio stations without including a photograph of Charley. Why? Because they wanted the audience to focus solely on his voice first, before the harsh reality that Pride was African American could influence their perception. In a time when race could make or break a career, this was a calculated gamble. This pivotal moment not only showcased the prevailing racism in the country music scene, but also underscored the profound faith in Charley's abilities. Despite being immersed in a genre dominated by white artists and resistant to change, there was a belief that his rich, captivating voice could transcend racial barriers and win over listeners. It became a moment for his music to speak louder than the color of his skin. As Pride's music began to reach a wider audience, something remarkable unfolded. Listeners were captivated. His soulful interpretation of traditional country themes resonated deeply, proving that prejudice could never overshadow genuine talent. In no time, Pride emerged from obscurity. Just months after releasing The Snakes Crawl at Night, his identity was no longer hidden, and he quickly garnered both recognition and acclaim. This initial success marked more than just a personal victory. It became a landmark in country music history, challenging the industry's established norms and paving the way for future diverse artists. In 1971, he reached the peak of his recognition at the Country Music Association, CMA Awards, where he was awarded both Male Vocalist of the Year and Entertainer of the Year. These honors weren't just accolades. They were a testament to his exceptional ability to captivate with his commanding voice and electrifying stage presence, cementing his place as one of country music's all-time legends. Yet, despite his groundbreaking achievements, Pride's journey toward full recognition was not without its hurdles. His long-awaited induction into the Country Music Hall of Fame, which came nearly a decade after he had become eligible, highlighted the industry's painfully slow acknowledgement of his monumental contributions. This delay wasn't just an oversight. It mirrored the entrenched racial dynamics within the country music world, a genre historically resistant to diversity. But when Pride was finally inducted, it was more than just a personal victory. It symbolized a powerful triumph, a celebration not only of his artistic brilliance, but also of the doors he had forced open for future generations of black artists in country music. Charley Pride's impact on country music goes far beyond his musical talent. He wasn't just a singer, he was a trailblazer, a cultural force who stood in defiance of industry conventions. His rich baritone voice, blending traditional country with blues and gospel influences, resonated with people from all walks of life. Hits like "Kiss an Angel Good Mornin'" and "Burgers and Fries" weren't just songs. They were stories that bridged cultural gaps, making him a beloved icon across diverse fan bases. As the years went on, Charley Pride's legacy only grew stronger. In the later years of his career, he continued to earn the accolades he so richly deserved. In 2017, the Grammy Awards bestowed upon him a Lifetime Achievement Award, a fitting recognition of his timeless influence on the music industry. But it was the CMA's decision in November 2020 to grant him a Lifetime Achievement Award that felt particularly emotional, almost like a delayed recognition for the years he had spent waiting for his full contribution to the genre to be acknowledged. Sadly, this honor came during a time when the world was in the grips of the COVID-19 pandemic. The CMA awards ceremony that November was surrounded by controversy, with its indoor setting and unmasked guests sparking backlash as the virus remained a deadly threat. For Pride, this event would become his final public appearance, a bittersweet moment in a career marked by both triumphs and challenges. Just a few weeks later, on December 12, 2020, Charley Pride passed away from complications related to COVID-19. His death was a heartbreaking loss for the music world and for the millions whose lives had been touched by his story. In the aftermath of his passing, tributes flooded in from all corners of the industry, celebrating not only his musical legacy, but also the barriers he had broken down for Black artists in a genre that had long resisted change. Charley Pride's career is often remembered for his groundbreaking role as the first Black superstar in country music. While this achievement is undeniably monumental, it can sometimes overshadow the full depth of his artistic journey and the complexities of his personal life. As country music critic David Cantwell wisely noted, reducing Pride's legacy to just a symbol of racial progress does a disservice to the incredible artistry that defined his career. Pride wasn't merely a trailblazer, he was a deeply talented and versatile artist, a man who made intentional artistic choices, sharpened his craft, and navigated the deeply ingrained biases of a genre dominated by white musicians with exceptional skill and grace. This artistry, rooted in his unique life experiences, became the foundation for his distinctive sound. These experiences profoundly shaped his music, allowing him to blend the emotional intensity of country music with the soulful depth of his musical heritage. Pride's remarkable ability to draw from such a rich tapestry of influences not only set him apart, but also enabled him to reach a broad audience while staying authentically connected to his roots. Maintaining a lasting presence in country music, beyond just a handful of hits, is no simple accomplishment. It requires artists to forge a deep and unwavering credibility with their audience, often through an undeniable connection to the genre's traditions. For Charley Pride, however, this journey was fraught with additional hurdles, as he navigated an industry deeply divided by race and long-held stereotypes about identity within country music. By the time Pride began releasing singles in the late 1960s, the music world had already solidified racial divisions within its genres. For decades, the industry had segregated music into categories: hillbilly records for white audiences and race records for Black listeners. This artificial separation was driven by powerful industry figures who controlled marketing and distribution, creating an environment where Black artists struggled to break through in predominantly white genres like country. Yet despite this challenging history, Pride was resolute in carving out his own path within the country music world. He knew that to achieve enduring success, he had to prove his authenticity and his deep personal connection to the genre. This was no mere matter of showcasing his talent. It required a concerted effort to demonstrate the experiences and values that shaped him as an artist. Pride's upbringing in Sledge, Mississippi was pivotal to this story. Raised in a working-class family, he spent his childhood years listening to the Grand Ole Opry on his father's old Philco radio, immersing himself in the sounds and stories of country music long before he ever imagined stepping onto a stage. This early exposure to the genre laid the groundwork for his future aspirations and shaped his deep connection to the music. With this background, he was equipped with a genuine foundation to stake his claim in country music, but proving his authenticity required relentless effort. He wasn't content with being just another artist. He aspired to be recognized as a true and integral voice in the genre. This meant not only mastering the unique musical styles and traditions that defined country music, but also forging a deeper connection with its cultural essence. Pride fully immersed himself in the genre, weaving together the diverse influences he had encountered throughout his life, blending blues, gospel, and traditional country sounds to carve out an identity that was uniquely his and deeply relatable. Throughout his illustrious career, Charley Pride encountered a series of challenges that went beyond his racial identity. They were steeped in the prejudices and assumptions that accompanied it. In his 1969 live album In Person, and later in his 1994 autobiography, he recounted numerous instances where he was treated as an outsider in the country music world. But despite these hurdles, he often approached these moments with a kind of lightheartedness that masked the painful undertones of such ignorance. During a conversation I had with him in 2011, Pride's remarkable patience shone through as he reflected on the misconceptions he faced. He shared how critics, puzzled by his place in country music, would often say to him, "With a voice like yours, why do you have to sing that stuff?" The message was unmistakable. His undeniable talent led many to dismiss the very genre that had given him a home, suggesting that he could reach greater musical heights elsewhere, as though country music itself was somehow beneath him. Pride's response was both graceful and insightful. I said, "Well, I'm not saying I could sing anything I want to, but I do feel that I sing the basics of American music, country, gospel, and the blues," he explained. This simple yet powerful statement captured his deep understanding of American music, acknowledging the roots that shaped his artistry and solidified his place within that rich cultural tradition. For Charley Pride, country music wasn't just a genre, it was a vibrant expression of a diverse and shared musical legacy, one that proudly embraced the influence of Black musical traditions. So, what did it really mean for Pride to embody the essence of American music? To him, it was about recognizing how all the different genres blend together to form the heart of the country's musical identity. His own journey reflected this blend, deeply influenced by his Mississippi roots, where the soulful sounds of blues and gospel effortlessly mingled with country's twang. Pride understood that music's true power lies in its ability to tell stories, evoke emotions, and break down the barriers often placed between genres. Even now, Black artists in country music continue to face the persistent pressure to prove they belong in a space historically dominated by white voices. This expectation, built on deeply entrenched racial biases and cultural stereotypes, adds a complex layer of emotional work for these artists, who must navigate the intricacies of acceptance and authenticity. However, as the industry slowly transforms, a new generation of voices is rising up, challenging these outdated norms and expressing their experiences with both force and eloquence. Among the leaders of this movement is Mickey Guyton, who has become a bold advocate for confronting the realities of race within country music. Through her powerful songs, candid interviews, and fearless presence on social media, Guyton has openly discussed the emotional burden of being a Black artist in a genre that has often overlooked their contributions. In her deeply moving song Black Like Me, she lays bare her internal struggles with identity and belonging, offering a raw, personal perspective on the often painful journey of navigating a world that continually questions her place within it. Guyton's work marks a significant shift in how race is being discussed in country music. While artists like Charley Pride had to face ignorance with patience and grace, today's performers, such as Guyton, are confronting these challenges head-on, sparking an essential conversation that could change the industry for future generations. Unlike the silent endurance of the past, these artists are now speaking out about the emotional toll of navigating an industry that demands not just talent, but also a constant defense of their right to belong. This shift represents a turning point, as more Black artists find the courage to share their stories, reject the pressure to stay quiet, and push for a more inclusive definition of what it means to be a country artist. At the same time, there's an increasing awareness within the country music community of the genre's rich African American roots. Country music is deeply intertwined with the traditions of blues, gospel, and folk, genres that laid the foundation for its evolution. Yet for far too long, the contributions of black musicians were either ignored or deliberately pushed to the margins. Now, as the conversation about race in country music gains momentum, there is a growing recognition of the countless black artists whose work has shaped the genre, often without receiving the acknowledgement they rightfully deserve. This shift in perspective is starting to influence how the industry operates. Artists, fans, and scholars are joining forces to advocate for a more expansive narrative that celebrates the diverse influences woven into the fabric of country music. Through documentaries, articles, and vibrant social media discussions, the legacy of black musicians is being brought to light, alongside the historical context that has often been overlooked. This recognition isn't just about honoring the past. It's about cultivating a more inclusive environment where all artists can flourish. In many ways, the efforts of artists like Mickey Guyton are blazing a trail for future generations. By confronting their own experiences head-on and challenging the industry's established norms, they are forging a space where authenticity and diversity are not only accepted, but celebrated. Their stories, often filled with raw emotion, resilience, and vulnerability, strike a chord with audiences and invite a deeper, more nuanced understanding of race in country music. The rise of social media as a powerful tool for dialogue has further amplified these voices, allowing artists to reach broader audiences and share their experiences in ways that were once unimaginable. This new level of accessibility has sparked a more dynamic exchange of ideas and fostered a sense of solidarity among artists and their fans. The emotional burden that once felt isolating is now being shared, fueling a collective movement toward meaningful change within the industry. In a similar way, Charley Pride's extraordinary career reflects how an individual can navigate challenges and leave a lasting legacy. His success in the racially charged world of country music wasn't just due to his incredible talent, but also his keen understanding of the cultural forces shaping the world around him. Pride fully grasped the risks and controversies that could emerge in an industry still entrenched in racial biases and divisions. In response, he developed a strategy grounded in foresight, one that allowed him to anticipate obstacles and skillfully navigate them, all while fostering a sense of ease and acceptance among his predominantly white peers and audience. His approach was an artful blend of self-preservation and audience connection. Pride knew that winning over fellow musicians, industry gatekeepers, and fans was key to his success. By creating an atmosphere where his music could be appreciated without the shadow of racial prejudice, he managed to carve out a space for himself that was free of unnecessary barriers. This delicate balancing act not only fueled his commercial success, but also helped cultivate a more inclusive fan base. At his fan club gatherings, the diversity of attendees was striking, an organic reflection of Pride's ability to transcend racial divides and bring people together through his music. When asked in an interview why he had never moved to Nashville, the heart of the country music industry, his response was laden with the quiet wisdom of someone who had learned to navigate a precarious world. "I think I would have gotten into trouble by people wanting to pitch you a song every day you stick your head out," he explained. Pride's answer reflected a deep understanding of the pitfalls fame could bring, the constant scrutiny and pressure from industry insiders eager to profit from his success. By choosing to stay away from the industry's nerve center in Nashville, Pride kept himself insulated from the relentless demands that could have compromised his creative freedom. Moreover, his decision was driven by a strong sense of duty toward his family. Both he and his wife, Mississippi natives, were acutely aware of the ongoing civil rights movement, which was unfolding just as Pride's career was reaching its peak. This awareness, alongside the challenges of their own upbringing, influenced their choices as parents. Our kids would have run into a whole bunch of what we had to grow up with, segregation and that sort of thing, he reflected. This simple yet powerful statement encapsulated the sacrifices he made, always prioritizing his family's safety and future well-being above all else. In the early stages of his career, industry insiders allegedly advised him to steer clear of romantic ballads. Their reasoning was rooted in an ingrained fear that singing love songs to white female fans would violate the fragile social boundaries of the time. This advice shed light on the racial prejudices that dominated the music industry and highlighted the societal constraints black artists were expected to navigate. Despite these imposed limitations, Pride flourished as a remarkable entertainer. He navigated these boundaries with a combination of ingenuity and poise, turning them into opportunities to display his talents in new and unexpected ways. Although he didn't view himself as a songwriter, Pride possessed an innate skill for choosing material that resonated with his audience. He understood that the right song could touch listeners deeply, and he approached each piece with careful deliberation. "I always like to get my material and live with it, see how I'd like to phrase it and all that stuff," he explained, underscoring the thoughtful approach he took to interpreting the music he performed. This careful attention to detail allowed Pride to transform the songs he sang into something far beyond a simple performance. Each song became an expressive journey, as Pride infused his own emotional resonance into every note, inviting listeners into the story with each line he delivered. Though he was often praised for his smooth vocals, the richness of his voice was far more nuanced. It carried a subtle roughness that added layers of depth and texture, making his smoothness a product of his masterful communication rather than a mere vocal quality. Pride's vocal style was a masterful fusion of various influences: honky-tonk, pop crooning, and the emerging sounds of the 70s singer-songwriter movement. This versatility allowed him to connect with a wide range of audiences, proving that his artistry was as complex as the music he performed. One memorable incident even saw a woman claiming that his voice had mesmerized her, highlighting the magnetic power of his performances. But what really set him apart as an artist was his deep, thoughtful approach to every song, along with his careful attention to detail. A prime example of this is his often overlooked 1977 album, She's Just an Old Love Turned Memory. In this collection, Pride demonstrated his unique ability to adopt a conversational style, perfectly aligning with the singer-songwriter movement of the time. The album featured tracks that masterfully wove emotional narratives with a delicate vocal technique, enabling him to delve into themes of love and loss in a way that profoundly resonated with listeners. His performances on this record, and others, reveal an intimate connection with the material, inviting audiences to experience the raw emotions right alongside him. Charley Pride's extensive recording career is defined by an exceptional capacity to channel deep emotion through his rich baritone voice, an instrument imbued with a warmth and steady strength. His vocal performances went far beyond mere technicality. They were deeply expressive, echoing the emotions he so skillfully conveyed. Every song became a canvas for his emotional insights, laying bare vulnerability and storytelling that transcended the music itself. In his haunting rendition of Old Photographs, Pride exemplifies his extraordinary ability to breathe poignant life into simple melodies. The song's structure allows for subtle dips in pitch, accentuating his drawn-out, stoic notes. This deliberate phrasing uncovers an undercurrent of sorrow and longing, capturing the essence of faded domestic happiness. As he sings, it becomes clear that the nostalgia triggered by the photographs is not just a reflection, but a bittersweet longing. Pride taps into the aching memories of a life once full of love, his voice gently bending with emotion. His ability to weave such complex, layered feelings through subtle vocal shifts is a powerful testament to his artistry, drawing listeners into the mix of love-lost and cherished moments. This emotional depth continues to unfold in All I Have to Offer You Is Me, where Pride faces the stark realities of love and commitment, balancing practicality with raw emotion. The simplicity of his wedding proposal, no wealth, no grandeur, just the man himself, takes on a deeper meaning through his heartfelt delivery. His voice, filled with sincerity, not only declares his love, but also acknowledges the challenges and sacrifices that come with it. Through his vocal performance, Pride captures vulnerability, offering his love without the safety net of material wealth, yet with an abundance of heartfelt devotion. The juxtaposition of his humble reality against the depth of his emotions weaves a tapestry that speaks to anyone who has navigated the complexities of love. Another remarkable song, "I'm Gonna Love Her on the Radio," highlights Pride's ability to channel the pain of emotional wounds. This track is a quiet vow of emotional retribution, delving into the intricate feelings of heartbreak and longing. In his delivery, Pride masterfully blends determination and sorrow. While he vows to love her from a distance, on the radio, there's an undeniable undercurrent of unresolved pain in his voice. The depth of his performance hints that this decision is not made lightly, but is rather an emotional necessity, a way to cope with lingering feelings that continue to haunt him. Charley Pride's artistic vision was rooted in a profound dedication to infusing every song with emotional truth, no matter its commercial potential or chart position. His 1988 single, released when his presence on the charts had begun to fade, perfectly exemplifies this commitment. It showcases his extraordinary ability to transform songs into poignant experiences that resonate deeply with listeners. Charley Pride's dedication to his craft was evident in his collaboration with producer Jack Clement, which played a pivotal role in shaping his musical philosophy. Both shared the conviction that every song, whether it was meant to be a chart-topping hit or a lesser-known track, deserved the same level of care and attention. Together, they treated every song as a masterpiece, ensuring that its emotional core was captured and delivered with authenticity. Pride's approach to music was summed up perfectly in his own words. "We always felt like if a song was a B song, we'd like to try to make it an A. And if it was an A song, we'd try to make it a double A." This philosophy speaks to his profound respect for songwriting and performance, revealing his belief that every track on an album should shine equally, with each one receiving the attention it truly deserves. This philosophy played a pivotal role in Pride's commercial success, propelling him to sell millions of albums throughout his career. By treating every song with the potential to connect with listeners, he ensured that even the less obvious hits were filled with purpose and passion. His dedication to elevating the ordinary became a signature of his work, setting him apart from many of his peers who often relied on a few key singles to define their albums. A perfect embodiment of this approach is his timeless hit, "Kiss an Angel Good Mornin'," released in 1971. This track not only soared to the top of the country charts, but also made waves on the adult contemporary chart, highlighting Pride's wide-reaching appeal. Included in the album Charley Pride Sings Heart Songs, the title itself encapsulates Pride's greatest strength, his heart songs. His remarkable ability to tap into the emotional depth of romantic themes made him a beloved figure in country music. He deftly challenged any skepticism about black artists performing love ballads, earning the admiration of fans across racial lines. Charley Pride's career unfolded during a time when country music was heavily intertwined with conservative politics, often resonating with narratives that upheld traditional values. These values, conveyed through coded language or dog whistles, appealed to white audiences who resisted the racial changes of the 1960s and 1970s. Yet, despite this politically charged environment and the genre's occasional embrace of regressive racial views, Pride's approach to country music was quietly revolutionary. His self-presentation, stage presence, and the complex themes woven into his songs marked him as an artist ahead of his time. When it came to his appearance, Pride stood apart. While many country stars of the era clung to a rugged, down-home image, Pride's style was more polished and modern. He blended the charm of his rural roots with a sleek, contemporary look, capturing the hearts of audiences far beyond the typical country music demographic. His stage presence was more than just a visual statement. It was a quiet yet powerful declaration of his versatility. By blending the classic charm of country with a modern edge, Pride showcased his ability to connect with both traditional country fans and those looking for something fresh. This unique balance not only defied stereotypes, but positioned him as a true entertainer, breaking barriers and proving that talent transcends all boundaries. The themes in his lyrics mirrored this modern sensibility, particularly in how they portrayed women. At a time when many country songs leaned into conventional, often limiting roles for women, Pride's music offered a refreshing and forward-thinking perspective. He presented women as fully realized individuals, making their own decisions, subtly empowering them in ways that were ahead of his time. By depicting women as active agents in their own stories, Pride added a layer of contemporary relevance to his music, reflecting the societal shifts occurring around him and incorporating them into his art. Simultaneously, Pride's music often celebrated his deep connection to his rural roots, particularly his upbringing in Mississippi. While his songs were filled with a genuine love for the countryside and the communities that shaped him, they also carried the weight of his experiences growing up in the Jim Crow South, marked by hardship and systemic injustice. This duality is beautifully captured in tracks like Mississippi Cotton-Picking Delta Town and Wonder Could I Live There Anymore. Throughout his career, Charley Pride remained a steadfast ally and advocate for other black artists, striving to carve out a place in a genre long dominated by white artists. In interviews, he spoke passionately about the shifting dynamics of country music, acknowledging the growing prominence of black musicians like Darius Rucker, who had already made significant strides in transitioning from a roots rocker to a country star. Pride saw Rucker's success as a sign of progress, but with the wisdom that came from years of experience, he also reflected on the many black country artists who paved the way before him. He shared a thoughtful perspective on the long and often challenging road to greater diversity in country music, acknowledging both the struggles and triumphs of those who came before. This reflection was matched by Pride's remarkable knowledge of the black artists who had sought to make their mark in country music. With ease, he could list names like Obie McClinton, Stoney Edwards, Ruby Falls, Cleve Francis, Trini Triggs, as well as his own brother Stephen Pride and his son Dion Pride. Each name represented a crucial part of the often overlooked story of black artists in the genre. While many of these artists, despite their undeniable talent, never achieved the level of commercial success Pride did, their contributions painted a vivid picture of a rich yet frequently overlooked legacy. The fact that Pride could recall these names so readily speaks to his deep commitment to championing black talent and his acute awareness of the systemic challenges that kept many of these artists from receiving the recognition they deserved. Take Obie McClinton, for example, a gifted performer and songwriter in the 1970s and 1980s. Despite his exceptional ability and dedication to the country music scene, McClinton, known as the Chocolate Cowboy, struggled to find commercial success. Similarly, Stoney Edwards, another black country artist, found some recognition, but his achievements remained on the periphery of the genre. Both McClinton and Edwards, like so many others before them, had to contend with the dual obstacles of a racially divided music industry and an audience often resistant to embracing black performers in a genre historically dominated by white artists. Pride's brother, Stephen, and his son, Dion, also ventured into the world of country music, yet both faced their own battles for recognition. While Stephen had some success performing under the shadow of Charley, Dion's musical career blended elements of country, rock, and blues, yet still struggled to make a significant impact. Despite their natural talent and their connection to Charley, both faced the enduring difficulty of breaking into the mainstream, a challenge that still plagues many black artists trying to carve out their place in country music. In 2011, when asked about the progress he expected the genre to have made by that time, Charley Pride gave a candid, almost painful response. His words revealed the frustration he had long felt as the sole black superstar in country music, a frustration born of decades spent carrying the weight of breaking barriers while watching others struggle to follow in his footsteps. His response was not merely a reflection of his personal journey, it carried a deeper message about the systemic hurdles faced by black artists in the country music scene. Although Pride had reached the pinnacle of the genre, his position as a black artist remained a rarity, more of an anomaly than the start of a more inclusive era. Having borne the weight of being the only black artist to break into the highest ranks of country music for so long, Pride had clearly spent a great deal of time contemplating the reasons behind the lack of diversity in the industry. In the midst of our conversation, he paused, and with a gravity in his voice that underscored the significance of his words, he remarked, "Now here's the clincher. Maybe they don't want any more Charley Prides. Maybe the industry doesn't want any more Charley Prides." His statement was both an indictment and a reflection, a sharp acknowledgement of the industry's resistance to fully accept the idea of black artists flourishing in country music. It wasn't a mere question. It was a declaration that was born out of decades of experience, an assertion forged from the reality of being the lone black superstar in a genre slow to embrace change. Pride then shifted into an imagined conversation, anticipating the criticism he might face for voicing such an opinion. "Well, Charley, why would you say—" he began, trailing off before returning with unwavering certainty. "I'm saying it. If I'm saying the wrong thing, I say now you must go and talk to the industry." With those words, Pride pointed directly to the deeply ingrained issues within country music, the gatekeepers, the culture, the long-standing patterns of exclusion. He was placing the blame for the lack of diversity squarely on the shoulders of the industry, making it clear that the issue wasn't about individual talent or capability, but about systemic barriers that needed to be addressed. In many respects, Pride's words highlighted the isolation he had felt as the only one for so many years. While he navigated these challenging waters with remarkable poise and skill, the emotional burden of being the exception was undeniable. His contemplation of whether the industry didn't want any more Charley Prides laid bare the psychological toll of shouldering such responsibility alone. This sense of solitude extended beyond his career. Charley Pride's personal life, much like his professional journey, was shaped by defining moments that intertwined with his public image, offering a glimpse into the complexities of his relationships and the struggles of living in the spotlight. One of the most significant chapters in his life was his marriage to Rosine Coran, a bond that began long before his rise to fame and endured for over 6 decades. Pride first crossed paths with Rosine while playing baseball in Memphis, Tennessee, a sport that once consumed him before he fully embraced music. Their relationship blossomed in the mid-1950s, during a time when Pride was still finding his footing in the early stages of his career. In 1956, while on Christmas leave from basic training in the Army, Charley and Rosine married, marking the start of a partnership that would span a lifetime. Rosine proved to be a constant source of support throughout the fluctuating tides of Pride's music career and the additional obstacles they faced as an interracial couple in a racially divided America. Together, they built a family, raising 2 sons, Craig and Dion, and a daughter, Angela. Their Dallas home became a sanctuary for their family, and Pride's music success allowed them a comfortable lifestyle. Over time, Pride's family grew further as he became a grandfather to 5 and a great-grandfather to 2, expanding his legacy across generations. Yet Pride's personal life wasn't without its challenges. In the late 1970s, at the peak of his career, he became involved in an extramarital affair with a flight attendant from Dallas, which led to the birth of a son, Tyler, in 1979. The affair would later lead to emotional and legal challenges that deeply affected Pride and his family. In 1990, more than 10 years after Tyler's birth, the flight attendant filed a lawsuit demanding child support. Pride disputed the paternity, which ignited a highly publicized legal battle, complicating his personal life even further. The matter took a decisive turn in 1992, when a DNA test confirmed that Charley Pride was indeed Tyler's biological father. Consequently, a Texas court ruled that Pride was legally required to provide child support for Tyler until his 18th birthday. The court also mandated that Tyler's last name be changed to Pride, officially acknowledging him as Charley Pride's son. While the resolution of this case was undeniably difficult, it marked a pivotal moment in Pride's life as he took full responsibility for his son, despite the complicated and painful circumstances surrounding the affair. What are your thoughts on the challenges Charley Pride has faced throughout his career? Share your comments below. We hope you found this video helpful. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching, and see you in our next video. Goodbye.